We have with us today the filmmakers behind the sequel to Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. And it's creatively called Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey too. I'm sure that's for branding. Director Rhys Frake-Waterfield and producer actor Scott Christopher Robin Chambers are joining us on the show today. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us here. Rhys is here. Scott is here. I paid, by the way, I already have tickets to see the movie next week. It's opening on Wednesday at my AMC theater. I'm going to see the film.
Through Fathom Events.
I saw the first film in the theater. The audience went nuts. First of all, it was 100% sold out at the AMC Burbank 16. People were laughing. The deaths just had people wailing and laughing. First of all, the first film, why? And the second film, why?
So, yeah, thanks so much for going to see it. And yeah, that's exactly what it's supposed to be. It's meant to be a bit like, it's like popcorn horror. It's fun. With the first film, obviously when it went into the public domain, me and Scott kind of like ran with it, and we got it out quite quickly. But with the sequel, we actually had like a significantly higher budget and more time to do the filming. So hopefully that shows in the trailer on your screen now. But it's still absolutely wild. So if you thought number one was crazy, just wait till you see number two. There's like 60 deaths in it, I think. When you get to the end, it's absolutely relentless. And there was so much, I've had to cut about 7 death scenes from it.
Oh my God. Well, we're looking at the trailer now, getting a glimpse of it. I had a really good time at the first one because the audience knew what this was. It's a slasher movie, simple. I love that there's like a jacuzzi scene in it. There are attractive women that are sexy, and it's playing on, look, it was all an adult audience. This is not a movie for kids in the least. But how do you, before we talk about part two, just going back to part one, when did you know the rights were going to revert to public domain? How did you plan this out? And now you've created what looks to be, if the second one's very good, I assume there'll be a third. So just tell us like the whole threading the needle with Disney and you know, getting away with doing this. And I mean in all the best of ways.
So yeah, in January, I think it was 2022, was it? Or 2023, I can't remember now, getting my years mixed up. When it became in the public domain, we filmed it about 2 or 3 months later. There are certain things you have to be careful of when with like these kind of IPs when they've gone in the public domain, because you can only take the source material from the time. So that first book, the 1926 book, whatever is in there has to be your like foundation and your base. All the iterations coming off of that, so Disney's iteration of Winnie the Pooh and all of their additions with it, we had to basically steer clear of. So that's why we were very, very careful in the first film. And we avoid him being in a little red T-shirt. He's got trousers on in our one. It would have been scarier if he didn't have trousers on, I think. But so we had to make sure that was the case. Some of the certain phrases, the mannerisms. So like there's quite an iconic voice the Disney Winnie the Pooh has. And a lot of people wanted us to, utilize that and have that in the first film, but we can't, otherwise we'd be sued into oblivion. So those sort of elements we had to kind of tiptoe around. And then, but going into the sequel, that's allowed us to have like 1 or 2 years more of additions into the Winnie the Pooh world, like the public domain world, hence why Tigger's now in it. So some of these characters can go in there. We can kind of be a bit more looser with their dialogue and as they're talking. So you'll see from the trailer, they're a lot more vocal this time than the first film.
Yeah. So have you been approached by Disney at all? Has that happened?
No. We've been, I think we've been really, really careful with what we've done, and our kind of interpretation of it is so far gone from theirs that I think there's no risk someone's going to confuse the two. One of them's like a 2 or 3 foot little bear. Our one looks quite horrific and he's killing people in jacuzzis and stuff.
Can I ask you, was it the book, A.A. Milne's book, that went into public domain, or was it Disney's original cartoon, the first one?
Book, yeah. So A.A. Milne's book in 1926, that was the first ever kind of version of Winnie the Pooh, which was out there, and then Disney built on that, and then they created their version of him subsequently. So the only thing which is currently actually available to use as source material is that first version, the 1926, and now also the 1928 book.
Okay.
We've got wow, almost 700, more than 700 people watching us live right now on YouTube and Rumble. I do have a question for Scott. Do you, as Christopher Robin, were you a fan of the old? I grew up watching the Winnie the Pooh cartoons. I loved them. They were specials on TV when I was a kid. Loved them. My kids, I got them the videos so they could watch. Were you a fan of it? And then how does this make you feel playing an iconic character?
So no, I wasn't really a fan of it. I've been watching horror films since I was honestly about 6 years old. So like I started with Scream and Species and stuff like that. So I was never really actually like into kids stuff that much when I was little. The most amount of kids stuff that I was into was stuff like Goosebumps or Are You Afraid of the Dark? Like I wasn't really into kids stuff. And I don't know, I was really scared saying yes to this because obviously I wasn't Christopher Robin in the first one. And Rhys said that he wanted to revamp the film because obviously on the first one we made it on £20,000, and there's like this rumor, this lie out there that it's like we had 100 grand. We didn't. We had £20,000, which in dollars is like what, 25 grand or something. So it was made on next to nothing, and it was made in 6 days as well. And we did manically do some reshoots when it went nuts overnight. We weren't expecting it. So then when Rhys said, look, with the sequel, I kind of want to make it the first one a movie within a movie, which is going to help me, redesign the characters. I'm going to need a new Christopher Robin. And he'd been like, because obviously I've been doing my acting for many years as well. And he's been like very supportive of that and like, very nice about my acting. And he said, I think you'd be good as Christopher Robin. And I really was nervous, mostly because it's very intimidating going into something where people actually want to be horrible, and they, when you're an actor and stuff, it is very vulnerable what you're doing, and putting yourself in a situation where it's like it's like beyond being vulnerable. It's like you're asking to be attacked. I was a bit nervous about it, to be honest. But ultimately, I do believe in Rhys, and Matt Leslie came on board to write it, and I really think he's great. So I just thought, you know what, screw it. I love horror films, using my imagination to that degree. So I thought, go for it. But I am very nervous about next week.
well, I mean, first of all, I heard a rumor that the movie was made for 60 grand. I couldn't believe it. 60 grand US. I couldn't believe it, and that it was shot in a crazy amount of time. And just seeing it, it's toe and toe with like you're seeing what you get, what you see is what you get. It's a slasher horror film based on the property Winnie the Pooh, and I thought the first film was really fun, mainly because the audience howled every time somebody got murdered. I mean, it was bloody, gory, gratuitous. It also had sexy women, which we don't always see in horror films anymore. And just based on the glimpse of the trailer that we got from part 2, looks like that tradition is being carried on. And it's just, it's the first film, but more. I can't believe you pulled it off. And what I didn't believe, because I bought tickets, I'm like, nobody's going to be in the theater. I walked into a 100% full theater for part 1, which is why I bought tickets for part 2, because I know that the same audience is going to they're going to show up, right? They are going to show up and be there for it.
Let's also be real. You guys, the winner is the one who comes in first, and you guys came in first, and that was I mean, kudos to you guys. That's amazing.
We got like 700 people watching us live. We have a lot of comments and questions here. I'm going to start with some super chats. We'll get to those. And book_Mark for 10 pounds. Looking forward to it. It looks gruesome. Yes, I love it. That's great. Other comments here from Rumble. With Tigger being the newest addition to the Blood and Honey canon, what was the main thing you planned with that character that you were excited to bring to the screen? And do you think you pulled it off?
So, with because we've got like 3 or 4 well, we've got 4 villains in this one. In the first one, we only had 2. As the films, go on, I got number 2, number 3. I have to just keep adding more and more creatures on there, and Tigger was one of them. I'd done a little bit of research before to see, what was everyone's favorite character, and most people, they gravitate towards Pooh or Tigger. They're like the two big ones. So we knew we had to add him in there. And something I wanted to do with this one, which wasn't really as present in the first film, is to make each of the characters a bit distinctly different in terms of how they're attacking people and how they're killing people. So because we've got Pooh, Piglet, Tigger, and Owl, there's kind of sprinkles of some kind of iconic horror villains, and my like personal favorites like Michael Myers and Jason. There's a bit of him in like Winnie the Pooh. Like when he gets into a room, he just wants to smash heads off and then get out as quick as he can. Whereas when you get to Tigger, to make him distinctly different, I wanted him to be a bit more like sadistic. So whereas Pooh just wants to knock their heads off, Tigger wants to make them suffer, and he wants to watch them suffer and enjoy it. So there's like these like Freddy Krueger, maybe like Art the Clowny kind of vibes to him. So you'll see in some of the scenes, I think there was one teased out where he's poked out these girls' eyes, and he's just kind of slicing her back a little bit and just watching her like crawl around blind, suffering. And he's opened up a little hatch, so he's trying to guide her into falling down the hole. So, but everyone loved that. Like we've had really, really good reactions to that, and there's loads of other death scenes like that. He's he just tries to make
about 60 people die in this. Literally, the
lot.
body count is about 60, and that's not like the quality suffers. There's some really wicked deaths that haven't even been teased at yet. Like my favorite ones aren't even in the trailers or anything. It's crazy.
And there's another element with Tigger I want to add in them is add into him was in this world he's been kind of locked away. So they had this like separate little room, and he's kind of like chained off, and he's left in there with all these dead bodies and stuff. So he's got a lot of pent up energy. So when you see him, I was kind of like directing the actor to imagine he's on like 20 or 30 Red Bulls. So you'll see in some of the clips he's like shaking. So when he's got his claw out, his claw is shaking and his face is shaking. It's because he's got so much energy and he just wants to rip people apart.
The chat's on fire with comments here. Let me just read a bunch of the comments and we have more questions. Where are your trousers, Mr. Pooh? Says Joseph. Anonymous, they forgot to feed Eeyore. No. And Devin Carter, maybe he's a friend of yours. Hey, Rhys, we're selling it well.
That's Premier Entertainment. Yeah, they're
yeah. I had to ask you, how did you get on Peacock?
Brock Samsonite says, let this be a lesson to anyone who thinks they can win at Pooh Stick Bridge. Watch out, Winnie's poop knife.
Oh, Pooh Stick. There is a scene in the new film which pays homage to Pooh Sticks. So look out for that.
Scott Christie Jones says, makes me proud to be British. And Mike MC Wong says, when Mickey Mouse goes public domain, you should make a better serial murderer than Pooh. Mickey Mouse is naturally scary. Actually, there is a group of people that have made a Mickey Mouse movie. We interviewed them, but they're holding the release because it's got to come out at a certain time. So that already exists. So another question here from Rumble, ADellis24 asks, with Steamboat Willie entering the public domain, when will we be seeing Pooh versus Mickey, Dawn of Corporate Resistance? Have you thought about a crossover with some other public domain characters?
Scott, do you want this one?
Yeah, so we actually announced this week Poohniverse Monsters Assemble. And it's gonna have all of them, but not Mickey. We're not going anywhere near that just because the legalities are, I don't think they're quite what people think. So we're avoiding that. That will not be in our world at all. But we're gonna have Winnie the Pooh. We're gonna have Piglet, Tinkerbell, Peter Pan, Rabbit, Tigger. I'm trying to think like Pinocchio.
We've shot
Bambi is gonna be in it. Yeah.
So there's going to be a scene where Pooh's riding Bambi with his bear trap.
There's going to be a massive crossover. Yeah, like Avengers, but horror is our goal.
Well, guess what? From Variety, Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey Team. Poohniverse. Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey Team to unite Pooh, Bambi, Tinkerbell, and more in low budget horror crossover. So this is not out. Wait, there's a teaser poster here. What is this? Oh my God. This is amazing. 6 years after Avengers Infinity War, another film is vying to become the most ambitious crossover event in history, this time in the lower budget cinematic realm. The filmmakers behind Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, the micro budget slasher that sparked headlines for turning A millions, blah, 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 blah. You guys made $5.2 million at the box office for a movie that cost under 50 grand.
We didn't personally get that, but yeah.
Yeah, we didn't personally get that.
I was going to say, but that is incredible. That is
my question,
incredible.
how did you get on Peacock?
So that was actually our distributor. So we're with ITN Studios, and they have handled kind of all the release in like the US. So I don't know how that's happened, but yeah, it's apparently it's been doing very well on there.
A lot more questions here. Let's get to these. Solomon Thornton says, "Greetings, Sir Scott and Sir Rhys. You've been knighted. What was your process for getting this film made?"
So with the first one, it was actually really easy because there wasn't really much like capital needed for it. We had the idea, we saw like it went into the public domain, and then we just messaged the like company we normally work with, and said we think this could be really big. Not as big as it was, but we want to make it and stuff. And then they just greenlit and went, yeah, okay. So then we went ahead with that, and then with the sequel obviously wasn't hard to get going because you can see like the kind of returns the first film has made. So everyone was like pushing us to make it basically.
Devin Carter comes in with a correction, says 7 million box office. It wasn't all reported. That's I mean, look, I feel when you look at movies like Terrifier, right? Terrifier 1 and 2. Terrifier 2 made over 10 million at the box office. It's a movie funded. I mean, it was made for like 250, 300 grand, but it made 10 million at the box office. More of that, I think, is necessary. So here you go. Let's see. I know you guys are limited on time, but we have a lot of questions. Get through as many of these as possible. Brock Samsonite says, in this movie, is Pooh a cannibal? I just want him to say, I must rescue my supper as he chases down his next victim.
So he's half, all of these animals, they're like half human, half creature. So it's like half human, half bear. So in terms of being a cannibal, I don't know. They will eat people. They do like to eat people. So I think that qualifies them for it. Yeah.
All right. Razorburn asks, question to Scott and Rhys. So when will we be expecting Pooh, Tigger, and other action figures to be released for this new cinematic universe? Would look great on my shelf. Is there any merchandising? Can you merchandise it?
So yeah, at the moment we do have a website. It's on the Instagram for Winnie the Pooh, but at the moment it's just t-shirts and stuff. We do want figures. We reached out to NECA and Trick or Treat, but they're not interested at this time. So I guess we'll just see how this carries on, and hopefully they'll jump on board a bit later. But we do have something releasing. I can't remember what it is. It's like a bobblehead or something like that. It's like a little figure sort of thing. But we'll definitely advertise it on Instagram, Twitter, and all that kind of stuff when it's ready.
And I think because the film's getting released in so many different territories, Japan are doing a release, and they seem to always do figures.
Yeah, they're really good at it.
Yeah, we actually had some figures from Japan last year, so there's a chance you'll be able to get some there. But in terms of like US,
here it is. We can see it right here.
Well done.
You got official merch. You can get a hoodie.
Yeah.
Look at that. All right, just now set up Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey shop.com. There we go. It exists. That's awesome. A link will be in the description. More questions here from Jimmy Francis. Besides using the characters, do you use any themes, scenes inspired by parts of the book? I think you talked about that.
Yeah. So basically, I got together with Matt Leslie, and he was like the writer of this, and we were brainstorming for like 2 or 3 months, and we tried to do that as much as possible. So looking at the source material, what can we use and get inspired from to implement some of those elements. So for example, as mentioned about the Pooh sticks, they have like Pooh sticks bridge. So we wanted a scene which was like just tongue-in-cheek with poo sticks. Also in the traditional Winnie the Pooh illustrations with the book, there's like this kind of like 2D map, and you can see, you know, the 100-acre wood and some of the other areas that kind of features in the film. So there's a lot of stuff which is just like sprinkled throughout the film, and like Easter eggs.
And well, I mean, I'll twist it up. Is Pooh 2 going theatrical? I have tickets for next Wednesday. Is it only in theaters for a day, or is it like special screenings?
3 days. 3 days through Fathom. 3 days through Fathom events. The 26th through the 28th.
Yeah. Got it. And well, super chat here. Thank you. 999 from James Carroll says, "Is there any bloody poo in the movie?"
Pooh gets bloody, but I don't know if there's bloody poo.
Fair. Hey, you answering all the questions. And from Rumble again, Adelis24, what was it like working with former Paul Atreides, Alec Newman?
Oh yeah, we love Alec. Alec he plays the dad, like Alan Robin, so A.A. Milner, so Scott's dad in the film. And yeah, he was really, really nice. Like, he came into it knowing what it was going to be. Like, we still didn't have the biggest budget in the world. Like, you know, most studio films, horror, they're like 10 million or so. We didn't have that. But he got really stuck in. He didn't care. Like, he's used to bigger sets. And he was grafting and, you know, just not, it's not like he was trying to, he was getting annoyed with the low budget nature of it. You know, he was like jumping in, making people tease and doing all sorts of stuff as well. Yeah, we loved him.
And then a final question here. Luke Broer says, "I saw Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, and I thought the scene of the character retelling her traumatic story of an intruder in her house was so well written and directed. It was really effective." I have to second that from Luke. The quality of this film was so much better than my expectation. I just saw the teaser trailer and I'm like, oh, I'm there. Just because just anything is like a middle finger to Disney, but also just a fun, you know, back to old school horror films, right? I think horror is, it's going through something right now. Let's just say that, but there is some really good, I just like going back to like old school horror. This reminds me of like the old Halloween, just like, you know what? They're women and men in peril and something's trying to kill them and go. That was the whole movie. And even like the opening of Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, that little sort of animated thing kind of telling the story, the audience was laughing their asses off. I mean, it was just great. So cheers to you guys and congrats on the success. Any final thoughts? I know you got to get to other interviews today.
As long as people, like, when the film comes out, if you see it in the cinema, honestly, it's a theatrically focused film. Like, if that makes sense. Like, it makes sense it's the best experience you'll get is watching it in a theater, because everyone's going to be cheering, everyone's going to be like yelling about what's happening, because there's just so much like death in the film, and they're really creative and fun deaths. So try and watch it in the theaters if you can, rather than at home.
Yeah, I would second that. I think we had our premiere and it was, I've never been in a cinema experience like it. It was nuts. And there is about 60 or more deaths in this. And there's dishwashers with knives and eyes involved. There's bear traps involved, limbs getting, like literally an arm getting snapped backwards. I have a chainsaw on fire trying to kill me. It's nuts. Definitely I'll watch it.
So what you're saying is this movie's a crowd pleaser.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah. You'll have a lot of fun with an audience. Yeah,
great. Well, congratulations. The film opens next. What's the date?
It's the 26th through the 28th, starting Tuesday to Thursday.
26th through 28th. Go see it. I already have my tickets. Scott and Rhys, thank you so much. Congrats on the film. Come back to talk about the Poohniverse movie, please.
Sounds
Please come
good.
back for Poohniverse. All right. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Thanks.
Awesome.
See you.
Thanks
Bye.
so much.
Bye now. Bye.
Bye.
There we go. That was great.
That
was great. All right.
I gotta get my tickets.
Yeah, no, we'll review it probably next Wednesday or Friday. We'll review it. But there you go.
Well, Friday. You're saying it Wednesday, so we'll review it
no, I can change my ticket to Tuesday. Right? Maybe I'm seeing a different movie on Tuesday. Got to check my schedule. We'll review it for sure. Just so we have a review on the site. And here we go from Rumble, BMO Better sub-supporter. I could see a version of the movie where Jay, Drunk 3PO, is like an Ash from the Evil Dead series, causing problems for the killers. I just like the level of ambition. The fact that there is a Pooniverse with classic fairy tale characters in a horror film is brilliantly ambitious. And a chat we didn't get to here from Society Reviews for 2. Frozen Empire might be the worst Ghostbusters film. Fair point. I think the 2016 Ghostbusters is the worst. I think that is the worst. Because just so many things about it. Who the villain was, the leaning, just the fact that it was very anti the original Ghostbusters, which makes no sense. I don't know why you'd want to do that, why you'd want to upset old fans, but fair. I mean, it's, look, Frozen Empire tried too hard, tried to do too many things and please too many audiences. So there you go. Well, that's it for us today. I want to say thank you to our mods, our mods, which are today, I don't know, we had lots of different mods. Thank you to Ms. Piccoffee. Thank you to Glenn Brown for doing the Lord Thoth Latino slant. Thank you to both. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to Alan for when I need help. Like, let's say if there's a banner that's blocking someone, in the time it takes to type, hey, there's a banner blocking someone, you can go and click the banner off. Just a suggestion. Rather than watch, see, because I'm trying to be with the audience. So I'm like with the audience, right? And people think like Chris is distracted, he's typing. I'm trying to bring up IMDb. I'm trying to bring up a banner. I'm trying to like run the show. Maybe what we need to do is restructure the show where I'm not burdened with those things. And then we can just like have
like finding the theater times for the movie.
It's just like I don't think we need 3 or 4 pictures for every movie. Just a note. We don't need 3 or 4 photos for every movie. Probably like 1 or 2, especially if it's a small indie movie. What? Okay, and also
we were instructed 3. That's
okay. Well, we're going to have a post-show meeting today. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you to you for watching. Next week, Monday versus, we're talking Ghostbusters. We're talking Ghostbusters on Monday on Versus with a huge lineup of special guests. Join us for that episode of Versus on Monday, 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern. Then on Wednesday, we're going to talk about nepotism in the film industry. Going to be a lot of fun. Plus 3-body problem. And Alan will give us an early review of Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. Is that right, Alan?
No, that will not be right because the screening is that afternoon afterwards.
Oh, you could leave early from Versus or just not do it.
It's Wednesday after the show.
It's on Wednesday. Oh, so they're screening Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. You mean the day before it opens?
Go to that screening and just see it in the theater. Because
what I'm saying is the fact that they're screening it so late kind of says something. And next week we'll obviously be talking about Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. It feels like summer already. It's summer in March. And I want to thank you. The channel continues to grow in spite of the terrible algorithm nonsense that we're being dealt right now. We are just getting it's affecting all channels. You see a lot of channels talking about it. We're not gonna really go off and have a discussion. All I can say is we appreciate that you show up and watch us every week because we like to have a lot of fun. So there you go. Cool. Alan, anything else that you want to say?
Just go to filmthread.com for the latest in indie reviews. And if you need something to watch this weekend, that's a great place to go to find something that's not from the big Hollywood studios.
Great. All right, Alan.
Let's get out of here.